Hey folks, welcome in to this info session. Welcome to the Polyvagal Institute. We are so excited to have you all here with us today for this info session for our new course with Ruby Jo Walker, Clinical Applications in Polyvagal Theory for Therapists. For those of you joining us for the first time, we'll start with just a few quick introductions and housekeeping items before passing it over to Ruby Jo. My name is Reagan Desatel, and I'm the Education Programs Manager here at Polyvagal Institute. Also online with us, we have Jerry Masiola, our media director, and Stephanie D'Angelo, our director of organizational training and facilitation. I see you just gave a little wave. If you take this course, you'll get to see more of all of our PBI team with Ruby Jo. And all of us are here today to support your learning experience. For those of you new to PBI, I'll share just a little bit about us. We're an international nonprofit organization based in the US with a mission of creating a safe and connected world through the principles of polyvagal theory. We provide education, training, and resources for a global audience of learners. If you haven't already, we invite you to visit us online at polyvagal.org. So for just a few quick housekeeping items before we begin our time today, a recording of this event will be sent out within around 2 business days after the session ends. And you'll be able to go back and find that recording both on the registration page, and we'll send it out to all who registered. We will be taking questions during the last half of our time together. We ask you to place those questions in the Q&A. You can find that at the bottom of your screen in the Zoom toolbar. You might have to click more to find it. Sometimes they can get lost in the chat, but we do invite you to share where you're joining from in the chat. We always love to see where in the world you're joining us from. Closed caption is also available at the bottom of your Zoom screen toolbar. And now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you all to Ruby Jo Walker. Ruby Jo is in her 34th year of clinical work and is a Hakomi certified and somatic experiencing practitioner who was first introduced to polyvagal theory and Steve's work over 19 years ago. For the last 15 years, she has been working on developing polyvagal theory applied clinical applications. You can read more of her work in the book Somatic-Oriented Therapies, which is edited by Dr. Porges, that was released this year, and her upcoming book, Clinical Applications of Polyvagal Theory in Post-Traumatic Growth and Resilience. She is the founder of SW Trauma Training Services, where she developed post-traumatic growth somatic therapy, a unique combination of advanced somatic therapy practices rooted in neurobiology, resilience, trauma healing, and attachment theory using applied polyvagal theory. And we are absolutely honored to call her our course partner at PBI. Ruby Jo, welcome, and thank you so much for sharing a little bit today about your course.
Well, thank you. And thank you all for being here. I'm just sort of glancing a little bit at the chat. And so I'm seeing you're from all over. So I'm delighted. This course I am super excited about. I've been passionate about polyvagal theory for years. And it's been my passion also to sort of bring it live. Like, okay, how do we actually apply this in therapy? So let's go ahead and go to the first slide. And so I'm only going to talk about 10 to 12 minutes or so, and then we'll have plenty of time to ask some questions. So, when our clients come to us, there is going to be an underlying physiology that's actually about any kind of client presentation. And so they're coming to us in the yellow and the red zone. So in this course, what we're really going to be focusing in on is teaching the nervous system access to the green zone. So any issue a client has, anxiety, depression, a relational issue, an attachment issue, anything besides maybe major mental illness and neurodivergence, we're going to actually see underlying physiology. So what I have found in the last 34 years is that shifting the physiology is the game changer. I am more effective in my work and even more passionate as a result of this. I'm sort of the opposite of burnt out. Like I am so excited about how polyvagal theory can change therapy. And that's really going to be the focus. And again, it's going to be about teaching the nervous system to come to green zone. And so that really is called deactivation. You can see that on the chart. That is really the goal in the training is when clients have multiple deactivations, that begins to create a new template in the nervous system. And that will be really the focus and what we'll be going towards. And they're going to send you, I think you're putting this in the chat for them. Is that right? Steph or Reagan? Yeah, okay. All right. And so let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So, in the nervous system, there's really three maps of treatment to me. So, there's the general nervous system functioning, which is, is the client like, are we just seeing it in their body that they're really more in red zone, which is the dorsal vagal, or are they more in yellow zone? And in the course, I'll fill this out more, so if this is kind of new to you, don't worry. I will be reviewing that as part of it. So that's one of the maps that falls in the nervous system. The other is co-regulation capacity. So co-regulation capacity is so many times affected by early trauma, early experiences, so it becomes a focus for us in treatment. And then the other map that we'll be learning about is limiting core beliefs. And so when people have limiting core beliefs, that actually puts their nervous system in red or yellow. So we'll be learning how to work with through this whole course. So just as an example, so you understand a little bit of what I'm talking about, if somebody has anxiety, one of the things that's they could be having anxiety, and this would be under the category of general nervous system functioning. In that case, it might be that they had an experience that really never got fully metabolized through their body. So they were left in threat state. That requires then certain kinds of interventions. They might have anxiety because their earlier life experience, their nervous system really never got the soothing it needed. And so in co-regulation, one of the things we do is we soothe another nervous system. Now, therapists are actually great at that. That's kind of what we do. We tend to be kind of super co-regulators just by nature of being therapists. It's kind of who we are. So what we're trying to do though is find ways to begin to find where the client might be stuck with their co-regulation capacity. So that'll be part of the focus. And so that would be another example of some anxiety that somebody could have. Now, as far as limiting core beliefs would be, what might be an example of that is somebody could have a feeling of not having value. And so, as a result of that, they might work towards a lot of perfection that would keep their nervous system in some yellow zone and anxiety. So, you can kind of see almost any issue could have any of these nervous system maps that are underlying it. And then that will really be what we'll cover throughout the course. Um, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So in the class structure is a 2-hour class. There will always be connection and self-reflection. So one of the things we know is we have to work with ourselves too, because we are the vessel. So there will be safe ways to sort of explore where you're at. Because the more we get clear on kind of our own stuff, and we get to have stuff like we're humans, like that's going to happen. What happens is as we gently explore that, we just get more effective. So there'll be a thread of that through all the classes. There will be specific somatic skills. And again, it's about training the nervous system. The nervous system really needs a new template. And so when people are stuck, the nervous system doesn't have a template that's actually promoting regulation. That can be changed. That's the whole neuroplasticity. There will be practices and exercises in triads just for you to have real skills to take back to your practice. And again, we'll be doing everything. There may be days you just don't want to practice. Well, we'll be operating in a way that you get to participate in the way you want to. This is about you staying in regulation, and our goal is to actually support you. But there will be some sort of optional practice in every module. We also have been taping demos thanks to Jerry and Steph and Reagan. We've been going through these demos. So we've done live demos. So you'll get to see, several demos. Get to see clips of examples of how you do things. And you'll also get full demos where you can begin to see the shift in clients. And why that's so important is how I work now as a result of learning polyvagal theory. I work towards having deactivation in every session because what my goal is I'm trying to teach this nervous system a new experience for neuroplasticity. So you'll get to see how to, these demos, and they'll be marked through. Some of them you'll watch on your own, some you'll watch with me in the class, and it will go through, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this. So you'll get that sense of, okay, how does this happen? And then integration, like how you begin to bring it in practice. Um, so we have just I'm just on time here. I want to just do a little bit of an exercise for you, just for you to have a little bit of a sense of, you may have already done things like this. It may be new to you, I'm not sure, but it's really a way for you to get a sense of experiencing a state shift. So what I'd like you to do, and again, this is optional too, if this works for you to try this exercise right now, great. If it doesn't, that's great too. Just listen to your own body and where you're at today. So I'd like you to just kind of take a moment and just kind of notice how you're doing right now. And making room just to kind of do a light check-in. How am I? Noticing how your body is. And then what I'd like to do is just lead you in a little bit of an applied mindfulness where you begin to sort of see if, if there's a shift. So what I'd like you to do is just bring up a quality that you know is fully you, something that connects to your essence. It may be your love of nature, or that you're compassionate, you're willing to grow, something that just encapsulates in a way who you are. Something that is unarguably just you. And then just take a moment and let yourself really feel that. And even say to yourself, I am. And notice what that's like as you claim this aspect of yourself, this part of you that's really about your essence. And just notice. Just taking those few moments to just feel and kind of savor this aspect of you. And if other things come up, let them be there and bring your attention back to this aspect of you, just noticing. So, and now again, let yourself just do a little check in with your body. And some of you will have had a small state shift. And some of you might not have. We might have needed to do a little bit more for your nervous system. There's no good, bad, right, wrong in that way. That's just the nervous system. But let yourself just notice this sort of shift. And then just kind of naming that's what we're trying to do. I mean, this isn't a thing we're going to do in the class, this exact thing, because we're going to be learning how to deactivate our clients. But this is the experience of state shift. And so what we're always trying to do is promote teaching the nervous system how to be in the green zone physiology. And that's kind of what this is, just to give you a little taste of a state shift for yourself. Yeah. So I think we're open now for questions if we have them.
Yeah, absolutely. We had one question coming in from the chat, and folks feel free to share it in the chat or in the Q&A. We're happy to answer your questions. Um, we have a question about the graphic that you shared, Ruby Joe, from Alessandrina saying, "This is wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. Would you be open to sharing some of the reasoning behind the graphic, especially around the placement of ventral vagal being located in the lower part of the chart?"
Yeah, so I started working on polyvagal theory like so long ago. So in Steve's early work, he really talked about red, green, and yellow. So that was his very early work. And so there was nobody else talking about it. Deb wasn't around yet. So in my mind, part of why I did it this way is I think of it from the standpoint of activation, deactivation, because that's what we're wanting to do in therapy. So, what made the most sense to me, and actually, I should also say, this got adapted from some things in somatic experiencing. Cheryl Sanders was also instrumental in kind of the early versions of this chart, and then I've been adapting it. But it made more sense to my brain. My brain, it made more sense to look at this increase in arousal. And so, meaning that deactivation is what we're after. So it's just how my brain began to see it. It made more sense to me to see arousal going up into yellow and red, arousal going or into yellow and then to red, and then deactivating into green. That feels more tied in with kind of how I see what therapy does.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ruby Joe. Jerry, if I could ask you to pull up that second to last slide. I see that we have some questions coming in about the course schedule, and
Yeah,
we have a slide to lay that out for folks.
yeah,
This course is coming up.
yeah.
It is starting September 10th is our first live class. And I know that Stephanie, you're answering some of these questions in the chat, and thank you for that. It'll be 8 modules long, rotating with a class every other week. And our last class will be a conversation, which I'm really excited about, with Dr. Ariel Schwartz and Ruby
Yeah.
Joe.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, and I'd see another question in the chat about CEs. We are offering CEUs for this course. There will be a live attendance requirement just if you're interested in pursuing those continuing education credits. Um, it's required to attend 7 of those 8 classes live. We also are offering a certificate of completion that gives you a concentration and application of applied polyvagal theory at the end of this course. I know that we have a part 1 and a part 2. You will receive that certificate of completion upon completing part 1. And for that certificate of completion, there is not the same live requirement. For the CEs, there is, and for the that certificate of completion, you're able to catch up if you've missed a class on the recordings as well. So I'm going to pull up some more questions here.
Yeah.
So I know that we're highlighting a lot of the practical parts of this class. Raquel asks about our exploration of the theory in this class. Could you speak to that a little bit, Ruby Joe?
Yeah, how we're going to be talking about the theory is more about how to identify what state somebody's in and starting to understand where the nervous system is stuck. Because, that just is in this kind of a time, that's more what we'll be doing. That it won't, I know the flagship goes into, other kinds of things, but this will be more of really trying to see it because it's about kind of how it is for a clinician. So I won't go as in depth to this as the flagship does. It will be helping you really understand your client's state more than anything.
Yeah, thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
And related to that, we have a question coming in from Kristen. How much background information or foundational understanding do we need around polyvagal theory in order to join this course?
I don't think you need it. So for some people, some of my initial stuff will be a little, and they may feel like, yeah, I kind of know this because it'll be based more on that chart that you just saw and going into a little more detail with that. And then other people will just be, diving right in. So, and I have done lots of therapist trainings. And so I feel like I kind of know what therapists want to know about, polyvagal theory clinically.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'll just add to that as well. We do have 2 lectures that we're adding to our kind of getting started introduction module that's self-paced for folks to join. It goes into kind of the basics, the foundations of polyvagal theory. It's a lecture from Steve and it's a lecture from Deb that kind of give an overview. So we have some tools in there to support that foundational knowledge as well.
That's fantastic. So they'll have that like right when they even start. They'll be able to get that. Okay, great. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I see a question about CEs. No CEUs if attending only online. That is correct. For the CEs offered for this course, we partner with Spiritual Competency Academy, and they do have a live attendance requirement for obtaining CEs through them. But we do have some flexibility built in. It's just 7 of the 8 classes that you're required to attend live. So if something comes up, if there's an emergency, we have that flexibility built in.
Yeah.
But if you're hoping to kind of join this class, if there's some conflicting times, um, unfortunately, CEs are just offered with that live attendance requirement. Um, and I see some from Barb sharing a conflicting or a conflict with attending in the fall, asking if there will be a repeat of this course. We absolutely hope so, and we are planning on it. We don't have dates on the calendar for that quite yet, but we would love to have a second cohort of this course.
Yeah.
Let me see if I'm catching up here. These are great questions. Any other questions that are coming in? I see one from Monica. Any research or suggestions related to the vagus nerve or polyvagal theory, and how that connects with insomnia.
Well, yeah. I mean, to me, insomnia is generally connected to sympathetic arousal. The nervous system really isn't having access to rest. So it's kind of associated with that physiological state. So, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Clients will oftentimes, once you get the nervous system more regulated, that tends to improve. I mean, aside from your menopausal, like then you can still have some stuff. Speaking from experience, yes.
Yeah,
I
thank
have,
you.
I have a couple questions for you, Ruby Joe. Firstly, I love that you just brought that up because one of the things we've done here at Polyvagal Institute in the past is women's health specifically. So
Oh,
maybe you can expand on that a little bit more. And also, um, would you find that the clinical application of polyvagal theory for therapists would apply? How is it applied for neurodivergent or autistic clients or relationships?
yeah, to be honest, I don't think I can actually speak too well to either of those things. Like, I don't do much work with neurodivergence, and so it's not I can't consider that my specialty. My specialties are, more um, childhood abuse, developmental wounding, sexual assault, domestic violence, but I'm really not an expert in neurodivergence and either one women's issues. It's all my personal stuff, Jerry. That's just me, what I've learned. I don't really have much to share clinically about that.
Thank you, Ruby Joe. There's some questions that are popping up in our Q&A that I would love to share with you. We have one from Iman. Would the exercises mainly be mindfulness practices, or if not, would it be possible to demonstrate an example? I can leave it up to you if we want to maybe close with one of those practices, or if you want to speak to what those might look like a little bit more.
Okay, well, like in the first module, we'll be working, that will be more of a mindfulness in that one, and then there'll be kind of group reflection on that, but it will be teaching about the power of presence and even some ways to work more on presence. And then the other exercises, really, we're going to have practices most modules. And so there will be a form of practice so that every time you will have some practice. So, because you'll be doing those in groups, I don't know that I can really quite get into that other than you'll learn a skill and we'll go through, slides and information. There will generally be between, like about a half an hour of information around every skill, and that's just very general. And then I will teach you to apply it. But I think it'd be a little hard to give that in this. I'm sorry that can't quite do that. Yeah.
Oh, no worries, Ruby Jo. I think that really is helpful, and I think kind of gives a really great understanding of kind of what to expect around those
Yeah.
practices. I see a hand raised, and I also want to just get to two similar questions. I see one in the chat and one in the Q&A, um, asking about kind of a follow-up after this course. Some of you might see that in that registration link. This is part one. There will be a part two follow-up in starting in January that has kind of more of an in-depth. Um,
Yeah.
it takes this kind of to a new level. Would you want to share a little bit about that, Ruby Jo?
Yes. So what I'll be doing in the first round is actually these are the skills I use every single day in my sessions. And so I'm still working. I love work and work with my clients. And so they are the most fundamental skills. And so, they're just very universal. And so you'll start getting results from those right away. Part two is going to move more in depth to developmental wounding and also some deeper stuff with the nervous system and changing um, through, beginning to shift the physiology on a very physical level. And so we're doing that in part one, but we'll go into more in depth in part two. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ruby Jo. I see Adar, if I see your hand raised, would love to hear from you. And then another question in the chat that we'll hop to.
Okay.
Hi, Ruby Joe. This is Adar. So I was in your in-person course, I think 3 years ago, or maybe even four, as time flies. My question is about how this course compares to the 100-hour training that you had on resiliency and uh,
Oh, God.
biophysiological post-traumatic growth. When I
Okay.
heard clinical applications, I was thinking that this was more like a continuation, like an advanced course, but now I'm not sure.
Yeah, so refresh my memory. Were you in my online resilience class that I did maybe in 21 or so? Is that the one? Oh, sorry, I'm sure we've lost her. Well, if that's the case, that I did a year-long class on resilience. And if that is the case, this is completely different. There was a little information about working with your clients, but this goes into much more. So that was kind of a more preliminary type course. And I think that was about, maybe 10 to 12 hours. Is that the one you did? Oh, okay. You know what? I'm remembering you've changed your name. This will have some crossover into that. Yeah, I'm remembering now. You've changed your name. You used to go by Debbie. Okay, all right, yeah. No, this will be similar. I've changed a lot of things because I've written a book, and then that's really forced a lot of refinement to me and getting clearer on even what's more effective. So there's definitely changes, but I don't know that this would be necessarily advanced, but it would be the most up to date of what I'm teaching.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Ruby.
Thank you for asking that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to see
And
you too.
thank you so much for sharing and asking. I think we have another previous student of Ruby Joe's in the chat. I'll read this comment out loud. Very sweet comment from Cynthia. I've attended a training with Ruby Joe and walked away with personal strength and tools that have been highly beneficial to people I have worked and interacted with. Her course was a game changer. Cynthia, thank you so much for sharing that. That's
Thank you, Cynthia. Glad you're here. I can't see you, but love that you're here.
So we have another question coming in the Q&A from Rachel saying, I'm very new to polyvagal theory. Can you say a little bit more about what a state shift actually is? I think I felt it in that exercise, but I'm curious to hear a description of what that actually means.
So, a state shift is why therapy and why this program is really all about somatics, because we're really trying to shift the physiology, which means then we feel that in our body. So, in the most general way, when our body's in the green zone, that's when we're able to be in ease and in rest and in connection. And most of us, just through our nervous system's assessment of threat, will go into yellow zone very easily, or red zone. It's a whole nother thing, but we have a little bit of a go-to in our system. And so the state shift is maybe going from like anxiety and maybe some heart racing, or even a little bit of tension, or even a little more of a bit of an amped up, to then back into some regulation, or maybe even a little more kind of disoriented and kind of a little checked out, and having access to the green zone. So that's the state shift. It is something that we will feel in our body. We'll feel the shift in our body. That's what that means. And you'll get that filled out in the course for sure.
Yeah, that's a beautiful explanation. Thank you so much, Ruby Joe. Yeah, and thank you, Jerry, for putting that back up on the screen. I appreciate it. One more question that I see coming in that I can help answer a little bit. Asking about homework in the course, or what the type of learning looks like outside of our live sessions. So just to speak a little bit to those demos that Ruby Joe was talking about, we'll have those videos available to you, demos that have notes where Ruby Joe has highlighted what she's practicing in those sessions. We'll watch clips of those in class, and then they will also be available for you to view outside of class as well. And then just at the end of the course, to receive that certificate of completion, or also to pursue those continuing education credits if you're interested in those, there'll be a quiz at the very end that you can take as many times as you want, just to really kind of capture that your understanding as you complete the course.
Yeah. Mm. Other than that, there really won't be homework. It'll be practices if you want to, like if this feels right to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm really excited about the practical tools within this course. It's a really unique offering, this chance to get to um, work with your peers in the way that Ruby Joe has structured this course. It's um, a really unique opportunity that I'm personally so excited about.
That's
The deadline to sign up, great question, Kristen. So we can accept signups up until that first class. after that first class, once you miss that first class, we would probably recommend joining the following cohort. But I'll share information. We'll post that registration link in the chat one more time. Also, we offer payment plans for this course as well, and we do offer partial scholarships as well. We can share that link in the chat as well. But
Reagan,
Ruby,
could I ask one more question?
absolutely.
Ruby Joe, just a question about part 2, and someone asked a question about what would that be like in part 2. I put in the chat that it's more advanced deactivation pathways, working with your own nervous system, and more. Do you want to say something about that part 2, or does that cover it?
I think that covers it, but we will be working with your nervous system all the way through. And so, yes, because that's a fundamental piece. Yeah.
So wouldn't you say that that's a different than any other training really that's out there in this applications piece? You are in, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big thing because when we work with ourselves, we simply just get more effective. We increase our range. And so we lovingly hold, just this possibility of our own growth and expansion too, as we work through these things. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Steph. That's really helpful. I've gone ahead and I've shared the link to register for clinical applications of polyvagal theory for therapists there in the chat, and then the link to that scholarship form that we have there as well. And I'm also going to link Ruby Joe's website and one more link just so you have all of the resources there. A link to our bookstore if you're interested in Ruby Joe's book. But I really just want to thank you all so much for your thoughtful questions and your time. And Ruby Joe, thank you so much for sharing with us. We are so thrilled to get to offer this course with you.
Well, and thank you all for being here, and thanks to PVI staff, Jerry, Reagan, and Steph for being here and supporting. And appreciate it. Yeah, and good to see some familiar faces on there. It's nice.